crazy this scenario sounds, imagine it really happened. What would it be like?
What would happen if somebody ran in this room right now and said, "Oh my God, turn on CNN, you're not going to believe what just came up out of the bay"?
There are certain things that continue to be iconic, and Godzilla, it just stands alone.
I grew up loving Godzilla. I thought it was fantastic.
You know, it's Godzilla, it's that kind of summer blockbuster.
You have no idea what's coming. And it is gonna send us back to the Stone Age!
Can you kill it?
The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control. And not the other way around.
Some kind of fossils, right? I've been digging holes for 30 years. I've never seen anything like it.
I think if you went around the world with like a silhouette of any character you could ever think of, I think probably one of the most recognizable that the whole world would spot is Godzilla.
Hey guys, you gotta see this.
I don't know what generation anyone could be from, but at a certain point in your life, it's just something that you learn.
Whether it's coming over a mountain, whether it's coming up out of the water, he's this force of nature personified.
And it doesn't even matter if you've ever seen the movie or not. Everybody sees that thing that looks like a giant dinosaur over a city and they just know it's Godzilla.
The top of a primordial ecosystem. A god.
It's a myth, and that's why it's survived, because the great myths is part of our DNA.
There's something about Godzilla as a force of nature, as a harbinger, you know, of our meddling with nature, you know, that is incredibly resonant today.
Because the stories are about our relationship to these iconic, symbolic creatures. And they've lasted for such a long time.
Really? You knew about this thing, the whole time?
The brand of Godzilla has been around a long, long time.
The first movie came out in 1954.
Original one was not just a Godzilla movie, but a film that raised the question that the Japanese society was grappling at the time.
And it's one big metaphor for Hiroshima.
The fact that Japan made this film 9 years after the bomb and brought this metaphorical creature to our consciousness, that's why it had such lasting power.
In the eyes of the world, in our movie, it had to be an origin story. So it had to be like the first time the world learned of Godzilla.
In 1954, the first time a nuclear submarine reached the lower depths, it awakened something.
At the start of the film, an American family have had to move to Japan for the father's work.
I need to know that it's not the sensors.
My guy, Joe Brody, he's a nuclear physicist. Joe is very, very good at his work, and he sees an anomaly in some sound patterns that others are trying to write off as earthquakes, and the data doesn't support that. There's something more here.
Oh my God.
And there is an incident in Japan, and it completely destroys the family.
I play a father and a husband as well. I'm in the military. I play an EOD officer who disarms bombs, basically. My character is having a struggle because he lost his mother and his father hasn't really been the same since.
Joe's been arrested in Japan.
And just when he gets off of a call of duty, he has to go and try to help.
All these crackpot cuckoo theories.
Your father is a good man. He needs your help right now.
And that really kicks off our journey.
Trespassing stuff, that was just a bunch of bull.
You broke the law.
I was just trying to get back to our old house.
Which is in a quarantine zone.
Precisely.
Joe Brody believes something has happened 15 years before, that the world has been told was a disaster, but was actually something much greater. So it had a bit of a conspiracy, Close Encounters kind of vibe to it.
Rooted in a lot of these crazy natural disasters that have been happening.
You are not fooling anybody when you say that what happened was a natural disaster.
You're lying, because what's really happening is that you're hiding something out there.
Things might not be exactly as they seem. Audiences will have to unravel the mystery of exactly what's going on.
And we're all very familiar with those nuclear tests that were all done in the South Pacific. Like over and over again, they let off these big, massive bombs in the middle of the ocean. What if they weren't tests, you know? What if they were actually trying to kill something?
But how does the story of the creature actually interweave with the story of our characters? And Gareth came in with a very definite sense of how to do that.
Master Sergeant, my family's in the city. I need to get on that train.
Instead of trying to humanize the beast, what this film does is humanize the people involved.
If you could let me leave you myself. Hello?
Gareth is very much a character-based director. He's crafting human beings that we can relate to, that we can sympathize with, that we can see ourselves in.
Even though it's a gigantic studios and it's shooting all over the place, but it still wants to find a human side of it. Of course, there's the imagination, but it's a catalyst of emotions, really.
I wouldn't be here if it was just, look out, this monster's crushing everything. As opposed to just caring about some stranger running down the street, and I hope he doesn't, he got squashed. Oh, that's too bad. You root for these people and you sympathize with their plight and hope that they make it through because you care about them.
In the midst of a crisis, you kind of, everything's all laid out in front of you, and it makes the choices more real.
Whatever it is they're guarding so carefully started talking.
The whole sensibility of how to make a movie like this has matured.
Are they rebuilding the plant?
I think audiences are far more sophisticated now, and they need more, they demand more.
I need my old disc to be able to prove that this isn't a fantasy, that I'm not what you think I am.
What I'm mostly interested in is just getting him back to the heart of what he's about and letting nature take its course and doing like a modern, serious take.
One that is grounded and thinks about the military response, the scientific community's response, the way people would react. And I doubt very highly it would be like, oh, cool, there's a huge creature. It'd be terrifying.
What we plan to do with this is just take it really seriously and treat it very realistically.
You know, that's Gareth's edict, is that this has to look absolutely real, and you want to believe that there's this 300-foot thing, you know, crawling around the streets of San Francisco.
Gareth, you know, he really wanted to do everything kind of in a real location, in an environment where you feel natural, so you have that quality.
And I think one of Gareth's real fortes is his ability to tell a great story with the camera.
I think Gareth would like us to feel that we are witnessing these creatures and we can't really influence what they do at all. And it's just going where it wants to go.
Citizens are being urged to please find shelter.
It's dark and it's gritty, and there's something that's just haunting about it all.
You're dealing with a mythical legend, but I think that Gareth will render it real.
We wanted to be true to the original Godzilla silhouette, but also feel unique and new. So what we tried to do is imagine that you really saw Godzilla, like he really existed, you really saw him, and we tried to come up with the real guide. What would nature really create?
We had a rough basis of which way the creature was going to go. We knew what he was going to look like.
And we've made sure that all the important things are in the film.
The big atomic breath.
The great destruction scenes.
People running in terror.
When you see a person against the size of Godzilla, it's going to draw people's breath.
We have the visual effects capability that will allow us to see Godzilla in all of his glory. and bring him alive like we haven't been able to see before.
Godzilla will be awe-inspiring when he makes his entrances.
There's nothing like that original Godzilla roar. It's probably the most iconic sound effect from film history.
Because if you watch the movies, that classic roar, it reoccurs over and over. It's not like they've got different versions of it.
We wanted to really pay homage to the original and use that as our starting point.
And you end up starting to try and describe it because it's... it's like a...
We did about 50 versions until it felt like, no, that's the roar, that's the classic roar.
None of us have ever faced a situation quite like this one before. Your courage will never be more needed than it is today. I have complete faith in your ability to succeed.
Why do we need monsters in storytelling? It's because they're symbols.
And Godzilla has become these amazing mythological stories to retell, and it's like it can always come back and be relevant.
Godzilla is a character that people have, a great long familiarity with.
And we want to make a Godzilla that's going to be watched, 20, 30 years from now. It'll still be on people's shelves. Like, we're going for it. This is going to be the ultimate Godzilla movie.
What will define it will be its believability.
I mean, it's going to be extraordinary. This is really going to be overwhelming.
Really epic.
This is the Godzilla movie that I've wanted to see my entire life.
It's really going to be good.
Let them fight.